Congressman Mo Brooks is a Republican from Alabama. He's supporting Ted Cruz. Congressman, thanks for being here. I want to start with what Donald Trump was just talking about there, that endorsement yesterday of Donald Trump from your state senator, from Jeff Sessions, a man obviously with a long reputation down there in Alabama. Is that going to help Donald Trump's campaign in Alabama?
It probably will help Donald Trump in Alabama and with voters across the United States who care about border security. I would want to emphasize, though, that if you keep track of what Jeff Sessions has said over the last 6 to 9 months, he thinks very highly of Ted Cruz. Senator Jeff Sessions and Senator Ted Cruz worked hand in hand to stop Marco Rubio's amnesty bill that would have either legalized or imported over a 10-year period about 11 state of Alabama populations. That's a huge surge in the labor supply that costs American jobs and suppress wages. More importantly, I think with what Jeff Sessions did yesterday is he's trying to drive a stake into the heart of amnesty, and he felt that the best way to do that was to very strongly come out against Marco Rubio and the amnesty that Marco Rubio has stood for. Jeff Sessions made a difficult decision in deciding whether to endorse Ted Cruz or Donald Trump, but ultimately felt with the polling data that is there that Donald Trump was best positioned to, again, put that stake in the heart of Marco Rubio and the amnesty that he stood for.
I wonder if what you're saying, what you're describing, gets to something bigger that's happening here in this campaign. This is a new poll out just this afternoon. Maybe you've seen it in your state, in Alabama. Has Donald Trump at 42%, Cruz at 16%, Rubio actually 19. What you're describing there, somebody, a conservative, looking at Donald Trump, looking at Ted Cruz, saying they're both solid, I like them both, but ultimately seeing a winner and maybe a stronger leader in Donald Trump. Is that what's happening here? Donald Trump is basically taking away Ted Cruz's base?
Well, to a large degree, you're seeing a bandwagon effect. When you win, as Donald Trump has done in New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada, that tends to dispel the concerns that people have about a candidate. The attacks, the contrasts don't work as well. But it's much like what we just heard in the intro. Ted Cruz was talking public policy issues that are of great concern to a large number of Americans. What did Donald Trump come back with? He didn't rebut anything that Ted Cruz said. Rather, he went into an attack mode with broad general statements. And I think what you're going to see 12 to 18 months from now is a lot of people who have supported Donald Trump, they're going to regret having done so 12 to 18 months. But right now, they're enamored with the personality. They're enamored with a projection of Donald Trump when they really should be looking at what he's going to do if he becomes president of the United States. And for those of us who believe in certain things like border security, like a stronger economy, like a strong national defense, like low taxes, like moral values, you're going to find that on a significant number of those issues, Donald Trump is not going to do what people think he's going to do, at least those who are enamored with the Donald Trump persona, as opposed to looking at his track record and where he's been. And I'll use one example. I don't think you can trust Donald Trump with anything he says. Now, why do I say that? It's because of his track record. I was just asked a little while ago if I'm going to endorse Donald Trump after things unfold with Donald Trump having this so-called insurmountable lead. And I said, no, I'm not. And the person wanted to know why. And I said, well, look, Donald Trump is an adulterer. People who support adultery, and I don't trust people who are serial adulterers, as Donald Trump has been and bragged about in writing, because I don't think that's an honorable thing or trait in a person. And so if you look at all the different things about Donald Trump in his history, I'm one of those that am very hesitant to believe that what he's telling us now is anything other than what the polling is telling him, Donald Trump, that he has to tell voters in order to get elected. And I don't believe in that kind of pandering.
So you're saying you will not endorse him if the polls are right, if he pulls ahead here, you will not endorse him if Ted Cruz gets out. Could you support him if he wins the Republican nomination, or are you ruling that out as well?
If Donald Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party, I'm going to sit back and I am going to watch. Now, I'm not going to be like Senator Ben Sasse, who publicly states that under no circumstances will he vote for Donald Trump if he is the Republican nominee. And that's coming from a Republican United States Senator. I understand where Senator Sasse is coming from. He's a very principled individual, believes in strong moral values, and has some grave concerns about where Donald Trump wants to take America. But at the same time, It's up to the American voters to do their homework and to understand more about this gentleman's background in order to be in a better position to project where he wants to take America in the future, and then make a decision as to whether that's where we want to go. And I think Americans don't want to go that direction if they really look at what Donald Trump has stood for his entire life.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. You're saying if he's the nominee, you said you would sit back and you would watch. You wouldn't say what Sass is saying. Sass is ruling it out. You're saying it still would be possible you'd support Trump eventually.
Well, if you're talking about voting in November, that's a secret ballot vote, and I can assure you that I'm not going to vote for a socialist who should be in jail. But it really makes it a difficult set of circumstances as we try to resolve which direction to take our country. The Democrats have much better message carriers than a person who willfully violates national security laws and put American lives at risk, and that's a felony.
So you might on the secret ballot you might vote for Donald Trump, but publicly you're saying no endorsement of Trump if he's the nominee.
I am not going to lend my name to the candidacy of an individual who is not trustworthy, and based on the most important value you have to your wife, to your spouse, the adultery that Donald Trump has repeatedly committed over the years, not only with single women, but also with married women, if you believe his own words, because he reduced this stuff to writing. These are Donald Trump's words, not mine. That causes me pause. When you've got a candidate who wants to sit in the Oval Office, who publicly uses gutter mouth type tactics and language that I wouldn't want my kids to use, yet he's going to be a symbol for all of America and for our kids who are in school. I don't want that kind of gutter mouth tactics in the United States White House. I think that we're better people than that. Nonetheless, I respect the will of the American people as they decide who they want to nominate, Republican and Democrat, and who they're going to ultimately put in the White House. But I'm not going to associate with that kind of character that I believe does not belong in the White House of the United States.
All right, Mo Brooks, congressman from Alabama and a supporter of Ted Cruz. Thanks for the time.